Hello, my name is Nathan High, and today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of biblical men in our culture. Society today is failing just because of the need for men in society. One of the big reasons for this is just that men aren't being trained up. The age of chivalry is dead, and as a result of that, there's kind of this twisted view of what it means to be a man in society. This idea of being a macho man, this Chuck Norris-esque idea, this persona of strength that men are emotionless, they don't feel anything, they can control their own world. But the thing, this definition of manhood leaves out the necessity for God, because God, He is the one who calls men to be men. This idea comes from this flourishing or shalom, but to understand this shalom, this flourishing, we must first understand God's design. The way shalom is the way that God created the world to be, the way He designed for men to lead and be active in the family. Because God, He has to be included in this definition of flourishing. In society today, flourishing is self-focused. It serves self and no one else. And God must be included because there cannot be a way that things were created to be without a creator. And one of the reasons that boys aren't becoming men has to do with this idea of adolescence. This first started to happen with the introduction of labor laws. In 1938, America passed these first labor laws, which introduced this idea of the teenager. Originally, this was put in place to protect the young children from poor working environments and to give them an opportunity to learn and for education. But typically, back in the Bible time, you were either a child or you were an adult. In 1 Corinthians, Paul says that when he was a child, he thought like a child, he acted like a child. But when he became a man, he acted like a man, he did like a man, and he got rid of all the childish things. And so with this introduction of the teenager, there's this idea, the transition from boy to man is delayed, and this has led to a cultural laziness where people are allowed to slack off, particularly with hard work and just school in general. And one of the reasons for this laziness has come through this fatherless culture. Mothers often have to take the lead. By necessity, the fathers are many things. They can be alcoholic, they can be abusive, or just absent. Very few are active in the lives of their sons. So mothers, they take the lead because they need to. No one else is willing to do it. But by their very nature, mothers are nurturers. They protect their sons, but they often overprotect them. They shelter them. When the sons are sheltered, they don't learn. They don't know what it means to be a man anymore. Because fathers, they need to take their sons from under the overprotective wing of the mother to call them out and teach them what it means to actually look like to be a man. See, the problem is many of these fathers, they themselves are just boys living in adult bodies. When they don't know what it means to be a man, they can't teach their sons what it means to be a man. And as a result of this, they don't know how to love their sons well, they don't know how to love their daughters well, they don't know how to love their wives, and they will be absent in the lives of all those involved. They will be not taking the role that they're needing to. And as they don't provide the training for their sons to become men, there's just a cycle of perpetual boyhood that continues on. Boys will become adults, adults will become fathers, and these fathers will not be absent, or they will be absent in the lives of their families, and the cycle just repeats on itself. Another reason men are failing is because they have not been taught how to deal with their emotions. This first picture here, it's a little boy, he's cut his knee, he's crying, and he can't, this idea of not being able to tolerate anything at all. And the second picture here, it's the classic, the Monty Python, the guy gets his arm cut off, he ignores the pain, it's just extreme tolerance where he can take anything. And so one of the first reactions is that the little boy, he can't take the pain, and as a result, he cries, he runs to mom for protection, and as a result of that pain that he feels, he no longer is willing to risk anything. He is afraid of even the possibility for pain. He is not allowed to thrive because he is not willing to risk anything. The second picture of extreme tolerance, the boy, he will bottle the pain. He doesn't turn to anyone because he thinks he has to deal with it. People will think he is weak. This idea of don't be a girl, that men don't have emotions, has perpetuated through society. And as a result of this can be released kind of an explosive outburst through violence. Another cultural shift, a huge one, is this sexualization of culture that has occurred, I believe, through two key men. The first is Alfred Kinsey. He was a sexologist who did research in the 1940s and 50s. And second, of course, is the famous Hugh Hefner with his invention of the Playboy magazine. For Kinsey, his research showed that sex is a normal thing. It's just a bodily function that has to be satisfied. It's just something akin to sneezing. It's okay. For Hefner, he, of course, invented Playboy magazine. He redefined what it meant to be a gentleman. A gentleman would have many women, control many women. That is what it meant to be a man. He also started the sexual revolution with the idea of pornography, revolutionizing what that looked like. He made looking at pornography culturally acceptable. And for both men, there was the idea that sex is shameless. And so as a result of that, many advertisements have become sexualized, aimed at men, because men are validated on their ability to get a woman. And as a result of that, when men can't get women physically, they will often turn to things such as pornography to feel that satisfaction, because these men, their core desire is to feel respect. And as with porn really is not about sex. Porn is about power. Men want to feel power, be able to control their own world that they live in. So with this, they can feel this respect from women, but when they can't get that physically, they turn to porn. They can at least feel some bit of respect through a screen. But when even porn itself doesn't become enough, men will turn to things like prostitution and the sex trafficking industry. They will be willing to pay money just to feel that power, that pleasure for a night. And as the need for girls goes up, these vulnerable girls will be preyed upon. They exploit their need for love. And this really is an issue that it starts and ends in the home. As fathers either teach or don't teach their sons how to be men, they don't know how to love the women around them. As daughters aren't loved, they will turn to other places, all the wrong places, looking and seeking for love. And men, they exploit this need. But should society be made strong through the idea of strong family led by biblical men, many of these issues will begin to fade away. So what are biblical men supposed to be? Men of impact, tell me. Biblical men are active. Exactly. So one of the first things is men, they are to be servants. They are seeking to love people as best as they can, and that is done in the light of Christ. That is seeking their shalom the way that the world was meant to be. They're seeking to make the world, the lives of people, the way God designed them to be. And next, men, they're supposed to be accountable to each other. They first need to be trained up by men to become men. And as they learn, as they are taught, they will pass on the teachings they have learned to others. So it's be taught and then teach others. And lastly, they're to be leaders. They're first to lead themselves. They're to be accountable to God for all their actions, for everything that they do. Looking to God, just as Jesus loved and served us, they're to be willing to give up their lives for the good of others. And lastly, they're supposed to lead their family well. That means loving their wives, teaching their sons what it means to be a man. And as they do these things well, the roles that each person was intended to be, those will fall into place. Wives can love their sons, but they also know the balance of letting go of their sons when the proper time comes. And as family is restored and made strong, society will flourish. Society will be made strong because society is built on the idea of family. So what are we to do, like as culture, as Christian culture, as the church, leading change? The first thing that needs to be done is we need to cast a vision for what life looks like for men. What this would be teaching men to be devoted to each other, seeking to serve God and influence all those around them for His glory, and making sure that men know how to be men taught by other men, But really the heart of this comes from engaging and developing others, teaching men what it means to be a man. Because as this heart of teaching men comes into place, as the heart is healed, all the bodily functions will return to the way that they are supposed to be. All the little details, when we seek God's first big principles, then all the little things fall into place. So we seek God first because he is where the answers to all of our questions is answered. And so as these boys are trained to become men, society is made strong. And so for me, this next year, personal steps, as I've said many times, this is something that it starts and ends in the home. So this too is where I will start. This next year, I want to go back home over the summer and talk to my brother about all these lessons that I have learned of what it means to be a man. I want to be able to seek accountability from him, and as well as maintain relationships with the guys here at Impact 360. But starting the fall, I'll be going off to a secular college and of 20-some thousand students. I plan to get involved with campus ministry there. I'm finding men that I can learn from as well as teach, and also finding a home church. Finding mentors there, as well as maintaining mentor relationships with the men at Impact 360 and my father. As all these things fall into place, as I myself am taught and begin to learn from other men, the final step in all this process is to teach other boys how to become men. For me, that'll start, should I be given the gift of family, to teach my sons what it means to be men in their lives, and also seeking out the boys who don't have that father figure, who come from broken homes, teaching them what it means to be men. But ultimately, this is not about making men. This is about making disciples. Our first call is to put Christ in people, not to make men out of them. That is the ultimate goal. As people become like Christ, as boys become like Christ, that is when the true definition of manhood will be restored. And as that happens, culture will be changed. Thank you.